sword of omens, give me sight beyond sight. Beyond sight. Beyond sight.
But since Andrew was super bored during that,
Yeah.
let's talk about the documentary next. Is
Yes.
that cool?
The documentary.
Only
So-
because you probably remember
Yeah.
when it actually happened.
I do, because like it happened when I was a teenager. Like,
Okay, so the whole
Yeah.
thing is the
Well-
Untold Story series that's on Netflix. They did a documentary on, what is his name?
Mateo, something like that.
Mateo, yeah,
Mateo, yeah.
something like that. And he basically,
I'll be back.
basically he was a football player. He was a very good football player. And he got catfished, which was
Yes.
like
That's the
unbelievable.
original catfish to me.
Yeah, he was the original catfish because and this was so crazy to me to think about, because he plays football in high school. He's from a very religious family. I don't even think he had a girlfriend in high school, because it didn't seem like he was into all that. He was into sports. He was into his school. He was into church. That was it.
Yeah.
Even to the point of how he chose his college was based on his religion, which I thought was strange. Like
that's Notre
he
Dame.
described
Yeah.
how he chose it. Did you see that part?
Yeah, I watched. That's like in the first episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, he's like, he wanted to go to one school, but another school chose him, and he said he was going to try to leave it to God, and he wound up asking one of his, was it his coach, or was it, he asked somebody.
I think it was a coach. Yeah, I think it was like a coach, something like that, like a high
Yeah.
school coach.
Yeah, and he kind of pointed him towards Notre Dame,
Mm.
which Notre Dame is like night and day compared to where he was from in Hawaii. He was going to fucking blizzard weather after going to like tropical weather. And when he first got there, he fucking hated it. But his best friend was with him. Like or not his best friend, but like a teammate of his, right?
Yeah, a friend of his, yeah.
Yeah, went with him. So he wasn't like totally alone. But when he got there, he was like, he felt alone. But he focused on his football, whatever. He did really, really well.
Yeah.
And then it was like early Facebook time. This was like early 2000s, right?
It was like 2006, I think, something like that. Around 2006 or 7.
Yeah. So Facebook was fairly
It was new. It was yeah. That's when Facebook was more like actual social media aspect. Like you went on there to meet people and interact and stuff like that. Like back when we actually had Farmville, remember, right? That was what it's called, like Farmville.
Mm-hmm.
Like we used to have like little shit like that. That's when I like the good Facebook, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was more of like random meeting people, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
Like it wasn't it was like, you know, friends of friends of friends of friends.
Nah, I don't know what it is now.
Like, yeah, now it's like, it's weird. But the one thing that struck me as interesting, and I think this is the reason why it worked for as long as it did. This guy who was from Hawaii as well. I don't know if they were from the same island. They didn't really like specify that.
Yeah, they didn't really say, yeah.
But he basically he was gay, but he couldn't come out because of, again, he's very religious. I think he was also the same Mormon, which I didn't know Mormonism was huge in Hawaii, but apparently it is. Yeah. That was weird. I didn't realize that, but they're hugely religious, and his way of coping was to create this online character that basically he wanted to be. He found a girl that he knew from high school, stole her pictures, acted like that was her, used his picture as her cousin, and then took other pictures from random family members or random people and made them like different family members, mom, cousin, brother, auntie. Like she went overboard with making all these different Facebook accounts based on all these people, right? And having them friended. And Mateo was not the first person that she tried to catfish. She actually tried to catfish the cousin. So she catfished the cousin, but when the cousin wanted to try to meet up with her, she broke up with him. She made up a fucked up excuse and they broke up. Whatever. So when she found Mateo on Facebook, probably through his friends group, honestly, he probably went through his friends, stalked somebody that she thought was cute, or he thought that was cute, and decided, I'm going to go for this one.
Basically.
So she friend requested him and says, oh, I know your cousin, and started talking to him that way. And before he even responded to her, he did the smart thing. What we would have thought to do back then, I'm going to hit up my cousin. Mm-hmm. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Yeah, I know so-and-so. I would talk to her for a little bit, but it's over, whatever. Okay, do you mind if I talk to her? Yeah, okay, fine. That's it. Mm-hmm. That was the extent of the conversation. He never asked, did you ever meet her in real life? Because there was none of that happened back then.
Yeah.
So if you say, do you know this person? And they say yes, you take it for their word that they know this person.
I mean, honestly, that's how that works.
Yeah. So then he starts talking to her, and he knows that she's in Hawaii, or no, California. I think he said she was. She told him she was in California going to some California college or something. And they talked online for a while, and then they talked on the phone. And when I tell you, he transformed his voice like a fucking GoBot. You would never know that was a man. You would never know. And I'm like, did they have that voice filtering technology back then? But I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely. Because I just had to Google real quick. Because it was back in 2012, but basically when it all started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure by then they definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he probably used some kind of voice changing thing or whatever. But they online dated for years. And not only that, like she was his, I'm saying she because that's how he presented himself, was a she.
That's what Netflix said. Remember what Netflix said?
So she kept saying, like, she literally like helped him through his football career. Whenever he was down, whenever he was like whatever, she would pump him up because he was actually a football player, like a really good football player himself in high school. He didn't go to college for it, but he was himself a really good football player. So he knows the game. And what killed me was like, oh yeah, after a certain amount of time, he actually gave him like pointers. And I'm like, wait a second, as a dude in college, and your girlfriend's like, yo, you need to tighten up your X, Y, and Z, whatever, football jargon, whatever. You're not going to be like, how the fuck do you know that?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Would have to have a really good story. Like you have to really be like, I have mad brothers, I watch a lot of football, like,
or my dad's obsessed, or like, it would have to be like,
I'm the girl from Remember the Titans.
But you know what I'm saying? Like some of the stuff that she told him to do, which he used, which worked, you're not going to question that? Like, that was weird. But then I was listening to The Bonfire. Nikki, I know you like The Bonfire. But they're like, yeah, he's retarded. Like,
no, you could tell, though, he's slow. Like, he's guttural. He believes whatever. Like,
yeah. But I don't know how much of it is his parents sheltered him or his religion. Because Mormonism is like, you stick to your own kind, and that's fucking it. Like, yeah, that's that. You know, like, they're really fucking strict. So
you could kind of tell by the way he is, and like the way when they did like little clips of him showing like his dorm room and shit, like in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
He was automatically like social awkward. Like he was just, I'm a football player. I go to church. I do my family.
He was a
thing.
Momo.
Like, he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't a actual like a cool football player. Like you know
No.
what how they would consider it.
But what was so funny to me is that like he got jealous because once he got famous, because once you're like college football is like a whole other shit. Like college football is basically like mini NFL. Like people follow the players.
Honestly, you could almost argue, depending on who you would talk to, like it's bigger than the NFL. Like in the South,
dude. In Kansas, when we were in Kansas, the college football logo was on the street signs.
Yeah.
It was Varsity Blues. It was in the street signs. It was in every storefront.
That's what they care about. Like the coaches that coach like college teams that said like a football team make like professional athletes money. Like it's insane. Just to coach kids that don't get paid nothing.
Yeah, which is so sad. That's like a whole other conversation. It's like these kids are breaking their backs to make these schools billions of dollars.
Basically.
Billions, and they get nothing. Nothing. Not even their school paid for. Because some of them have to still pay for school.
Yeah.
If their grades aren't up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, something's wrong here. At least give this motherfucker a car to get to school. Yeah. But anyway, so he basically goes on, and they become really close. And to the point where, like, she's changing voices, like, so that he can talk to different parts of her family. Like, he becomes himself when the cousin's on the phone. She even gets her little sister, who she calls her niece, I think. She says it's her niece, and it's actually her little sister. So then she like pulls her into it and has like a relationship between the little girl and him. So now he's thinking that like I'm meeting the whole family. It's crazy. It becomes fucking insane. And like one of his friends is like thinking like there's something up because you know she always has an excuse when he's like I want to see you, or like I guess when back then Facebook had, you know, Facebook Messenger where you could like kind of FaceTime with people. And it was always like, oh, my Wi-Fi's messed up, or I'm in a place it's like I can't see you, I can't hear you. Like it's always kind of like sketchy.
The usual catfish stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like years and years of doing this because he goes all through college. All through college. And then like his senior year of college, I think it was.
Yeah.
His grandmother died. And that fucked him up. So she decides this is going to be my perfect moment. I'm going to pretend that I died. So she pretends that she gets into a car accident.
Yes.
And she calls as the cousin or brother. I think it was cousin, right?
Yeah, I think it was the cousin.
Yeah, she calls as her cousin and says that she's in a horrible car accident and she can't speak. And they go through this elaborate bullshit of like, he puts the phone up to her and all he could hear is like she's fucking Darth Vader. And he's like talking to her and like, this person's insane. Could you imagine sitting in your room, in your bedroom, going, I'm going to pretend to be fucking comatose and make all these weird fucking noises and then pretend to be my cousin and then pretend, and then it gets as far as like, because she doesn't want to let go because she's really in love with him. So she's like, at one point when he talks to her, she makes like a noise and then the cousin gets on the phone like, oh my god, she responded, keep talking to her. It's fucking crazy. She paints this whole fucking scene. So he thinks he's like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing that. So he calls her the same day every day and says the same shit to her because he thinks that that's keeping her alive. Crazy. So then she gets revived magically, but now she has cancer. magically, right?
Yeah, that's what happens in car accidents. I mean,
magically they find your cancer. So then she has like leukemia or some shit like that, and she winds up dying. And what's crazy to me is your girlfriend just died. You're not going to ask about a funeral. You're not going to send flowers. You're not going to do like I need to leave school to go to my girlfriend's funeral. None of that happens. None of that happens. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then he goes, instead he refocuses and he goes, I'm going to dedicate my senior year season to my grandmother and my dead girlfriend. He like televises this shit about it. It's like crazy because he honestly believes it. And he has like one of the best years Notre Dame has had in like fucking centuries, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. He was very standout player. Like, let's put it like this. This whole shit really did mess up his career after because he would have been drafted different.
But what I'm saying is like, but his career in college was immaculate.
Yeah, he was always talked about. Like, this is why I knew about him, and I knew this because he was that person they talked about. It was
right.
Mateo was up there as like a Heisman candidate, and once you're in that conversation, they're talking about you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then the fucked up thing that happens is some newspaper guys go, "This story is fishy. I don't like it. I'm digging in. Who's this girlfriend?" So they start digging. One of the guys that starts digging was part of that hacker group called Anonymous. So he starts hacking into like, who is this girl? And finds out that the girl that's this Facebook is not this girl. So he goes and like reverse. I didn't even know this was like a thing back then, but he did like a reverse Google search on the girl's face and tries to find like who this actual girl is. And then this other guy tries to like figure out like when the dating started and all this stuff. And they figure out that this girl doesn't exist because they find the original girl. And the original girl goes, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like, how do you not know what we're talking about? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Then they find out that the girl is actually the cousin. They contact the cousin and he's like, I don't want to talk to you guys. Like, whatever. Like, he's like, fuck, I got caught. Like, type of thing. So they reach out. No, before they reach out to him, he finds out after talking to, or he gets a phone call and he thinks it's the cousin. And then all of a sudden the voice changes and he goes, it's me. He goes, what do you mean it's me? He goes, it's me. I'm not dead. And he said he fucking hangs up the phone. Hangs up the phone. He goes, I don't know what the fuck. Like, this is fucked up. Whatever. He reaches out to his cousin again. He goes, because he wants to find out, like, did you ever meet this girl? Like, who is this girl? And his cousin was like, yeah, we kind of talked online, but I never met her. And he starts putting things together. He's like, fuck. Like, he really was like, I fucked up. So he goes to the head of the college football for Notre Dame, and he tells them the whole story. He tells his parents the whole story. I met this girl online. I was in love with her. Yada, yada. The parents didn't even really fucking know about this. And he spills everything. And he's like, and now I thought she was dead, and now I'm getting a phone call that she's not dead. She's actually alive. I don't know what to believe. And the Notre Dame people were talked to their their representatives or their human resource. No, not human resources. What is that called? Public relations.
Yeah. Human relations. Yeah.
Yeah, they talked to the public relations, and they're like, "Listen, don't say anything yet. don't say anything yet. Just let's figure this out, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, there's a story out there. And they're contacting him and saying, we want your statement on this. And he's being told, don't say nothing, don't say nothing. So they wait only a certain amount of time, and then they release the story. And then when they release the story, it's not just, hey, this guy got catfished. It's like, hey, this guy lied about his girlfriend and made it seem like it was him that was like, oh, he's just making up this story just so he can get a fucking trophy and he can do all this shit. Meanwhile, he had no idea.
Yeah.
So then after college comes the draft. And when the draft happens, he goes to, what is that called, Andrew? When they right before. Oh, like they have like
the combine.
Draft. No,
yeah,
before
the combine.
Was it before the draft they go to the combine, or is it after the draft they go to the combine?
They do that before the draft.
Right. So he goes to the combine, and everybody's looking at him like this lying motherfucker. This fucking guy is such a fucking, So all of a sudden he goes from everybody loves him because he was so likable and such a nice guy to everybody fucking hates him. Nobody believes him. They all think he's a piece of shit because they think that he is like a clout chaser before there was clout chasing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so he basically tries to like do the whole I'm just here to fucking work and play football and that's it. But he's not playing as well as he used to because he's like fucked up with everything that's going on in his head and all this shit. He was supposed to be a first round draft pick. He was runner up for the Heisman Trophy. Like, there was so much shit that he was supposed to be that because of this fucked him up. But he was second round draft pick. Was it the Rams picked him up?
I think it was the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, the Chargers. Somebody. Yeah. But he was like second round draft pick. But if none of this came out, he would have been first round. He would have been picked up probably by I think, who was the first one?
That year getting drafted, I can't even remember.
It wasn't like the Giants or the Jets or anything like that, but it was a major team. Like, it was like a really, like, I forgot who gets picked up by, but he gets picked up by them. And all this shit, there's like all this news. They find out that it was a guy the whole time. And they were like, well, are they secretly gay? And like, there was all kinds of shit that happened to this poor fucking guy and his whole family. And his parents were fucking devastated. And to this day, because like during the interviews, like the dad is like, yo, I'm going to fucking kill this dude. Like, he was so pissed.
That shit definitely messed him up. Like, you could tell that messed him up because he had potential, and it was just like everything happened, and the way the sports world works, and that like once you get that bad rep, it takes a lot. Like, you would have to be insanely good for people to forget that. Like, so being mediocre is just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Because technically, from what I've looked up, like, I was like, well, as long as he played in the league, they said technically he was playing in 2020. I don't remember the last time I heard his name until just now on the Netflix thing. Yeah. Because he probably was on like practice squads and stuff like that. Like, that's basically what he like. He's just a reserve guy.
Yeah. At the end of the documentary, he basically said that the first 2 or 3 years, it was like the feeling of him going onto the field and forgetting everything was gone. He was like, he was a totally different player. He couldn't get his shit together. Like usually he would take whatever like bad thing that happened to him. As soon as he got on the field, he would use that shit. And like, that's what made him great all through college. Every time he went through something bad, he would just take it out on the field. But when he got to the pros, something broke in him, he said. and he just couldn't perform. And then I think he said after his third year, he started doing better. But after your third year, they're like,
you're pretty much,
you're done.
You have to be up all pro to be ready mad. Like, you're not going to make millions. You'll make the average, like, league salary type shit. But you're not going to be a superstar, especially at your age. Like, you get, like, they cut, like, a certain age in sports, they basically determine you done. Like, you have your downside of your age. So once you hit, like, 30, you're basically in the beginning of the down end of your career.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What did you
they were saying that because of this incident and because he was not a first round draft pick, you lose in your contracts millions of dollars.
A lot of bonuses because you get bonuses and stuff like that. Yeah.
Millions. So he went from having like, his whole family set to making a couple $100,000 a year.
And he probably, like, honestly, he would have been probably in commercials. He could have got endorsements. He would have had a lot more stuff. Yeah.
And what's honestly, like, back then, he was not that great looking. Now he looks pretty damn good. So he probably could have been an announcer at this point or something to that effect and been making bank.
What did you think of because you said that you knew when this was happening, like in real time. Yeah. So were you just believing like, oh yeah, this guy's gay or he's lying or?
Nah, honestly, it was like, nah, he's lying. Like like I said, I don't know. I don't know why people don't believe me, but I knew nothing about Catfish until MTV made that like name of a show. And I was like, what is this? And then like I was like, oh, and then people told me like the dude from Paranormal Activity was originally Catfish. That's how I knew, but him, it wasn't like that. Like catfishing wasn't a thing, at least in my world.
There was.
It was just like he was lying, and that was it. Yeah, like he was lying. He's a BS person. Da da da. That's why this documentary, when I said before, like I was like, honestly, I didn't really know there was a transgender person a part of it. Like I just thought he was BS lying. Like I didn't get the rest of the info at the end because
what
to me,
they
he was
said
just
about
a liar.
the documentary too is that nobody knows that the guy who did all this, because he was a guy when he did all this, is now transgender.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. They didn't tell anybody. It wasn't like because they didn't want to make it any more traumatizing than it was already. You know what I mean? Like it was bad enough that a gay dude was like acting like a chick. You know what I mean? And not only that, like the person who did all the catfishing went on like Dr. Phil and like there was all these like there was all this like televised bullshit that happened afterwards. Like it was crazy. It was so crazy.
As a sports fan, are you kind of mad though? Like because you could have seen like a good player.
No, honestly, no, I don't care because I didn't really care about him like that. Like,
okay,
if you ever know the Dame, it was like in that aspect of sports, like there's so many people that are good and they don't actually be as good no matter what. Like they're great in college, but even they go to the pros and they just average. Like they don't always become great. You never know. Like I don't really go into that aspect. Like it's rare that you see an athlete and be like, yeah, I can't wait to watch him play all the time. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to think about how many people are amazing in their college.
Yeah.
And then go to the NFL, and once they're in the NFL, it's like, yeah, you're right.
Basically.
You just can't keep up with.
You're not as good as everybody would have thought. Like, and you reach your peak in college more than you realize. You know.
Yeah.
And do you think part of it's the pressure of like the national?
Oh, definitely. Like I know part of that. Like honestly, like how we said, like he couldn't get his mind out of it. It's like if you've ever been to a football game, live football game, those people, drunk fans on the road, I guarantee you, they had signs. They were yelling shit out. You can't forget that. Like he probably heard that consistently throughout his career. That's what makes it harder. Yeah. Like you just can't let it go. Like that forever is on you. Like I just looked up Mateo memes and there's pictures of people like me and Mateo and like with a girlfriend, like, you know, like that's what.
Yeah, they made memes and all kinds of cartoons and shit about him. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
So it's just
that's kind of crazy to think though. Like you could have been very famous and this one asshole that was lonely.
And the thing is, you're probably not even famous. You could have even just looked at it as like you financially have yourself set for life.
Yeah. Damn, I would have been mad if it was him. I would have been like, motherfucker.
Nah, I would have tried to sue. I would have did whatever I could.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh my god. I watched a little bit. I think I watched the first episode and I found it interesting. But I just didn't watch the other ones.
Now, you know what the other one you show out? Like I said, like the AM1 one.
Yeah, that's what I want to watch next.
Like it starts out like it explains like the clothing part of it, but then it goes into the mixtape, like and then you get the little bit of drama at the end where it really like, and because to me it was interesting because they have a AM1 mixtape documentary on ESPN 30 for 30, and that one is like such a happy like everything is good.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and then this one I was like, damn. They all got robbed. Like everybody that I liked, like we used to watch play basketball, but then in that time it was like, y'all all basically broke like me.
Because it was a sham. It was a sham.
Yeah,
you know,
it's crazy. But the Air One people did make mad money though at that time because I have Air One shorts still. Like they still clothing wise, but at that time,
Walmart has.
We'll have to watch that one, and we'll talk about that the next episode because I want to watch the whole thing.